Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And you got to act now if you want free dining because it's been extended, but you got to book by August 14th, 2010. That's right. You can get free dining for select nights between August 15th, 2010 and December 21st, 2010. So you got to, if you want it, act now. Just go to mousefantravel.com. You'll be able to get a quote right away.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, August 4th, 2010, and this is episode 755 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgeberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hi, Matt. I'm back for my second in a row day here. This is getting to be a habit. New streak. New streak.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for alleears.net. Welcome, Mike.
If you insist on lagging behind, you may not need to volunteer.
Nice. Haunted Muppets?
Haunted Muppets.
And also joining us on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. And Len, you know, it's well documented on the show that when you send me anything in the mail, you always insert an adjective before it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to the Tent Fest show from this past year. And I got a letter from Len in the mail when I got back from my cruise, and what do I discover? And a letter addressed
Sweetums?
to the luscious Matt. I might I add, Len, that my wife's cousin was house sitting for us, so I'm sure she was a little intrigued as to what was inside of that.
Yeah, you got some explaining to do, don't you?
Marissa, I always knew about Matt.
Exactly.
It's Wednesday, and we're answering your listener questions. And we're going to start with a question, actually an email from Paul Gowder, who writes, I'm listening to episode 749, and again, Matt is bashing the dining plan because it's just a matter of convenience. So I did some math for our upcoming trip. We'll be there for 9 nights with 2 adults and 1 child. Total cost of our dining plan is $863.73. Here are our ADRs: Le Cellier, Sci-Fi, Chef Mickey's for breakfast, Yak and Yeti, Jiko, Coral Reef, and Ohana's for breakfast. Looking at the menus, I estimated the cost of each with tax to be $710.52. That leaves a difference of $153.20. And we haven't even counted snacks and counter service meals. $153.20 for 8 days in the parks is just $19 a day. I'm sure we would spend more on that in counter service meals and snacks. If we spend the $3 a day on snacks, that comes to $81, leaving just $72 for us to spend on counter service meals. For us, it's much more than convenience. It saves us money. Maybe we aren't typical with the places we choose to eat. Len, what are your thoughts on that?
Paul and I actually had a nice little email conversation going on there. The thing I pointed out is that if you look at the menu prices and compare the quality of food you get at places like Sci-Fi, which is on Paul's list, you wouldn't pay that outside of Walt Disney World to get the same quality food.
Right.
So my point to Paul was that if you didn't have the dining plan, you'd be paying $40 for the meal. If you had the dining plan, you're paying $30 for the meal. But outside Walt Disney World, it's really only worth $20.
Right.
So it's just a matter of how much you're getting robbed at certain places, and that's really my big point on this. It's like, yeah, it's great as compared to the normal menu prices, but it's not worth the normal menu prices to begin with. The other thing I would say too is, if it was your own money and you were paying out of pocket, you probably wouldn't need a sit-down meal every night.
Yeah, that's a great point, Len. You bring up a very good point. I had actually 2 other ideas. One is, I don't think Paul's talking about the free dining plan here. In which case, if he is talking about the free dining plan, anyone considering it, don't forget, with free dining, you're paying rack rates for the hotel rooms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're paying extra for the room. So you can't just factor in the price of your meals. Then you have to go back and factor in how much money you're paying extra for the room itself. And also, don't forget, with the dining plan, you're getting dessert. With the typical dining plan, you get an entree and a dessert. And I don't know about you personally, I don't order dessert every single time, so it's hard to compare. It's the meals were this, X, but if you were on your own, you'd be paying Y because you may not be getting dessert every single time. But I appreciate Paul. Always good to have a good discussion on the show, and we appreciate hearing other viewpoints. And Paul, send us an email about your iPhone app. We'd love to check it out. Next email is from Rick in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Please tell Mike I'm sorry if I managed to trick him with my subject line. I was just hoping to get this answered a week earlier. I'm pretty sure. Oh, this was the Newell. This is subject line. Newell, I may be your long lost son.
Another one?
Another one. But he admits that he's lying. He's just trying to abuse the system here.
So he's the one that's lying.
That's right.
Okay.
This is my second week of listening to your podcast. You guys are awesome. I've been to Disneyland every other year since I was born, but for my next trip, I'm considering my first visit to Walt Disney World in late 2010 or early 2011, so I might actually get a response before I go. Do you have any tips for someone like me who isn't a total newbie to Disney theme parks, but a first-time traveler to the world? Are there any misconceptions I might hold due to my years of Disneyland vacations? Any differences between the two resorts, attractions, or otherwise?
Couple things. One, Disney World is huge compared to Disneyland. So we've talked about, I think, this before, that the size of the Magic Kingdom as compared to Disneyland is much larger, and then Epcot is twice as large as that. The heat is different. The weather in Florida is different than the weather in Southern California. The attractions themselves too. They're probably bigger. They're probably larger in scope. The number of dining options is bigger. I think those are and the number of Disney hotel options is just amazing too. I think it takes much more planning to do a comprehensive tour of Walt Disney World than it does of Disneyland. That's the one thing I would say.
Would you also agree with me, Len, that the resorts in Walt Disney World have a much better incentive to stay on property than the ones in Disneyland?
Oh yeah, there's because Disney owns so much land around Walt Disney World, you're definitely better off, especially if it's your first time staying in a Disney theme park. It's not like you can walk across the street like you can in Disneyland from an offsite hotel to be on property. It's just not possible.
Cool. Next email is from Kevin from Baton, North Carolina. I listened to episode 652 and agree with the comments made about PhotoPass. There's one situation where my family and I found PhotoPass to be useful: the water parks. The one time we went to Typhoon Lagoon, there was PhotoPass photographers standing at different parts of the ride, sometimes in waist-deep water, sometimes at the big splash at the end of the ride. Yes, we could have carried a waterproof camera around all day, but we wouldn't have gotten the in-action shots. We found this very convenient.
That's right. It's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I saw this firsthand. I went to Typhoon Lagoon, I think it was last summer, and I noticed there are a number of photographers there, so it's good for Disney that they offer those things. It's good to have. I think it makes their PhotoPass value greater when you have more opportunities to get photos than just here's a photo in front of us in front of the castle, in front of Spaceship Earth. You know what I mean? Like more unconventional places. Next email is from Jane in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Just returned from our Walt Disney World trip. We had a wonderful time with our daughter and grandson, even though the weather felt like it was 1,000 degrees out. However, when it snows here in Michigan, 95 and humid does sound great. This is something I've not heard you address in many episodes that I've heard. Our grandson was doing the Kim Possible thing in Norway, and I was shopping, looking at the beautiful Norwegian sweaters. My husband standing next to me said, "Hey, that guy behind you just put a sweater in his bag." The great thing is that my husband thought he was part of the Kim Possible adventure. I turned, looked at the guy, and saw him put another sweater in his bag. We immediately told the sweet Norwegian girls what was happening, and they called security. When the guy saw security, he quickly gathered his wife, who also had a full shopping bag, and daughter, and began walking toward the park exit. My husband had not seen the security guard come in and followed the guy most of the store. When my husband spotted security following him and spotted another guard, he backed off, so we have no idea what the final result was. This made me think of other situations that Disney security could be needed in the park. It's hard to comprehend that in Disney, the happiest place on earth, there are still some people who will break the law.
Thanks.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I have a little story. I know for a fact that
does it involve you walking out of the
I do know that Disney security does not want to cause a scene, so they will follow a guest all the way to the guest's car in the parking lot, and as soon as the guest makes a move to go into his or her car, that's when they can say, "Okay, what are you doing?" Because it's at that point, at any point in the and while you're in the park, you can say, "Well, I meant to go back and pay for this." But if you're just about to leave and you're opening up your car door, then you're basically, you are shoplifting. So number one, they don't want to make a scene with everybody else there, and number two, at that point, you can say, "We got you with the goods." I think that I've heard stories from Disney officials on that.
Yeah, Disney security is pretty big on these kinds of things. One thing that was interesting is you mentioned that, Mike. I remember when a couple of years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago, they refurbed the shops on Sunset Boulevard, the ones that are Mouse About Town and the Carthay Circle Theater, those shops over there. And I remember when it first reopened, they basically, it used to be 3 separate shops, and now it's like kind of like the Emporium and on Main Street USA. It's one huge shop with a different exterior outside. And I was talking to some cast members there, and they expressed to me that actually they had heard that Disney security had concerns about shoplifting because the new layout made it a lot easier. There weren't cast members stationed in the proper areas to kind of observe necessarily, so they had to make some changes based on that. So Disney's definitely cognizant of the issue. Merchant, theft and that kind of stuff is something they don't take lightly. So,
and they do prowl the parks undercover.
Yeah, there are undercover security officers there.
Cameras everywhere.
I got stopped under Spaceship Earth by 2 guys in shorts and sunglasses and Mickey Mouse hats, and one guy was
You got stopped by them?
Yep.
Were you in the Norway store just before that?
No.
Wow.
I had just entered the park and got to Spaceship Earth when one of them pulled me over towards the side of where the camera shop is, like where the benches are around. They wanted to know. They asked me. They said, "Excuse me, are you wearing a second cell phone?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am, because I carry 2 phones with me." And he's like, "Do you mind if you show it to us?" So I had to show them that I had 2 phones. They saw something, I guess, under my shirt, and I don't know why they picked me out, but they saw that I had 2 phones, and they wanted to know if that's what it was. But they were, and one of them was Disney security, and one was Orange County Sheriff, because they both showed me IDs.
Wow,
that's interesting.
And there's definitely the undercover. I see them all the time when I'm at the studios because after a couple of weeks you see the same tourists every single day in the same spots.
Right,
it kind of
right.
And
one guy had the black socks and shorts. He really looked like a tourist. They
really dress up. Yeah, I give them credit for dressing the way they do.
Yeah,
they really don't. They really blend in very well.
And they apologized, and I said no, thank you for trying to keep guests safe. So I really do appreciate the security that's there.
Next email is from Adam from Belmore, New York. Hope all is well. I was listening to an episode where you guys were talking about the differences between Pirates of the Caribbean at the Magic Kingdom and at the Disneyland park. I actually learned the history of the ride and its construction from a great set of videos. I don't know if you're familiar with Martin's videos.
Yeah.
Yes, Martin from Manchester, United Kingdom. Vimeo.com/martinsvids. He catalogs Disney history and great ride-throughs. If you don't know his work, especially his new high-def Haunted Mansion video, they're a must-see for any Disney nut. Anyway, the video was the original ride proposed for the space called Western River Expedition and how Pirates was put in by popular demand, and many of the concepts from the now defunct ride came to be Big Thunder Mountain rides that we see in the other Disney parks. He covers too much to say here, but perhaps it calls for a viewing and a podcast on the history of the ride. Thanks again for all the great work. Well, I know you're a big Pirates fan. Have you checked out that video?
I haven't, but I will. I like. I think we talked about Martin before with his Illuminations video and with some of his other stuff. It was either on a live show or another listener question show within the last month, I think. Right?
Yeah, we talked about it very recently. You're right.
Yeah. So I will. I'll check it out.
He does some great.
I do
videos.
love me some pirates.
What was that, Noel?
I said he does do some great videos.
Absolutely.
I love me some pirates. I can see that on a shirt.
Next email is from Jenny Beck of Cedarville, Ohio. Hello to the Fabulous Five. This is one of those if it were up to you questions. No need to prepare your welcome back response for this one. My sister and I were talking this past weekend about tours Disney currently offers to guests and daydreaming about tours we'd like to see added to the list. My sister's suggestion was a nighttime tour that allows guests to see what happens after the gates close and the cast members are preparing for the next day. This could be particularly interesting during the holiday season. I'm wondering what types of tours each of you would like to see Disney add.
Good.
Oh, man. Call me first. I don't think that they would ever see that kind of a tour. I think that there are certain things that that they do at night that they don't want the general public to know, so I don't think that'll ever happen. As far as tour, I think that a tour of the inner workings of some of the big attractions to see what goes into the maintenance. I think that everyone would love to see, what kind of maintenance goes on. Things like Big Thunder, Mission Space. I think that there are a lot of people out there who are Imagineer wannabes, and they want to see, what goes on. So I think more of those, like backstage tours. I think that would be something that I'd like to see. Like I've always wanted to do, and someday I have to do the tour that shows the war wagon for the American Adventure. That kind of stuff, I think.
Len, you were going to say something before.
I would love to see like a behind the scenes kitchen tour, like how they prep for the day at like Pecos Bills, or how they get ready at Ohana, or how they get ready at one of the Magic Kingdom resort hotels.
Great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Noel, anything come to mind about a tour you'd like to see?
I would love. I don't know if they used to offer something, but I would love a back tour of the monorails, the shop, the repair shop, and where they keep them at night. And I'd love to see something like that.
Cool. Some great ideas. Next email is from Hollis Wilson of Perth, Western Australia, and writes, I don't care if you ever read this on the air, but I do want to know that after planning an around-the-world trip for the past 5 years, including a week at Walt Disney World, listening to your podcast all the time was an invaluable resource. We returned home and with incredible memories of our time in Florida. We stayed in concierge at the Polynesian, worked with Stephanie Hudson at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, read the unofficial guide, and followed the touring plans. Thank you for everything you do for the community. Now that we're home and I don't think we're going to be at Walt Disney World or US anytime soon, I still look forward to the weekly downloads of your great podcast. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hollis. Next email is from Cheryl from Westfield, Massachusetts, who's C. Klein 413 on www.com.
Hoorah.
Where's she from?
Hoorah.
Westfield, Massachusetts. Keeping score at home, no, Scopo?
Just want to make sure you pronounce the state right.
Massachusetts.
Now everybody's going to back up the podcast and say, what did Scopa hear?
I have 2 questions I hope you can answer before our 2011 food and wine trip. Yes, 2011. Need that long to save up for it. First, do any moderate or valley resort rooms have balconies, or do you have to go deluxe to get a balcony room? Not that I can think of.
No, I think all the moderates have exterior doorways. You don't get balconies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be deluxes. Yeah.
Second, someone told me that weekends are the slowest days of the week at the park, so we're considering a midweek to midweek trip. Maybe fly in on Wednesday, home on a Tuesday. Will it be worth it crowd-wise to schedule our trip that way?
Sunday, Lynn? Would Sunday be the one that you're talking about?
Weekends are usually travel days, and most, at least half of the visitors to Walt Disney World are tourists, right? So yeah, I think that'd be okay. Yeah. Depends on the time of the year, though. If it's spring break, it's gonna be crowded no matter what.
Well, the good thing about her trip that Tuesday to Thursday, or whatever, is generally it'll be a cheaper airfare. Those days are usually cheaper than
that's true. Good point.
Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to fly back. Next email is from. I'll also add for that. If you're looking for crowds to see your particular week, because every week is so different, it's hard to really generalize. But of course, the crowd calendar at touringplans.com is going to be a great tool for you to figure out if that's going to be worth it for you, or maybe just the traditional, Saturday to Saturday trip is going to be even better for you. Next email is from Jeff Meitzler of New Jersey. Love the podcast. I listen to it on the ride home from work every day. Last time I went to the Magic Kingdom, I ate at Crystal Palace and Tony's. Very unimpressed. These were the 2 worst meals of our trip. Therefore, on my next trip, I'll be eating at the monorail resorts. For sit-down meals, which is your favorite places for lunch, and which are your favorite for dinner at the monorail resorts?
Wow.
Good question. So favorite places for lunch on the monorail resorts. Let's start with Newell.
Oh, that would be Kona Cafe.
Ooh, good pick. I was going to say, actually, we were speaking of Kona, Mike. I was going to actually say for counter service, if you're looking to save a few bucks, I love Captain Cook's in the Polynesian.
Yeah.
Len, what are your thoughts?
Ooh, Captain Cook's is a good choice. I like the Contempo Cafe over at the Contemporary too, only because the food is freshly made. There's never anything sitting under a heat lamp.
There's also a Fixins bar there.
Like we used to say, a free salad bowl.
Good eatings.
Exactly.
Scopa for lunch?
I'm with Mike on Kona. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience at Kona at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kona's great for lunch or dinner. So for dinner, now we're switching over to dinner, I would definitely say Kona. The sushi bar is open for dinner. I'm not sure about lunch, but I know it's open for dinner. It's easy to get a reservation for. Great food, definitely overlooked by a lot of people. So that's my pick for that. Len, what are your thoughts on a dinner location on the monorail resort?
Ohana, if you can get into it at the Polynesian, is always a lot of fun. If not, the Grand Floridian Grill, not bad.
Yeah, it's an interesting pick. I've been there once. It wasn't bad. I just wasn't impressed.
It's just
by it.
Okay, right? Yeah.
Newell?
I just had a fantastic meal at the California Grill the other night.
Wow.
So I'll say that. That'll be my choice.
Oh, I'll say if you're looking to if you're like Newell and you're looking to spend big bucks on your dinner, Citricos.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Scopa?
I haven't been there for dinner in a long time, but especially if I think I'd want to go back and try it, especially if Lynn's with me. Ohana.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nice.
An old reference. What was that? Episode 500?
Oh no.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
that might was it?
That
That might have been episode 50 or 60.
It was mentioned
Yeah,
in
really.
500, but we
Actually,
went,
The next time I'm at Ohana and Scopa stands up to speak, I'm just going to tackle him first and ask questions later.
Lynn, the next time we're at Ohana, I'm treating you.
Oh, there you go. All right, cool. So somebody check the wiki for the. If you guys are new listeners, check the wiki for the background story on that.
Yeah, you just go to www.com/wiki for the info there. Next email's from Gerald from Palmyra, Pennsylvania. Guys, we just did on Monday, we did that show about the A through E ticket attractions at the studios, but we did obviously also one about Epcot a little while ago, and Gerald writes in, I would bump American Adventure to an E-ticket attraction. Back in the day, there would be lots of E and D ticket attractions. Plus, it distributes E-tickets usage throughout the parks. Also, an E-ticket attraction, I would include the character greeting spot at Interventions. And would the monorail still be considered an E-ticket? That would be 6 or 7 E-tickets along with Test Track, Soarin', and Mission Space.
the monorail?
Wow.
Was the monorail an E-ticket attraction?
No. It's a freebie.
Yeah, that's what I
It
thought.
was never,
Yeah.
Was it at Disneyland? Was it a ticketed attraction at Disneyland?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. If that's the case, that's different, but at Disney World, it was always free.
Yeah. Gerald adds, I think the problem with Epcot and the ticket system would be the lack of A-ticket attractions. What about something like the Advanced Training Lab after Mission Space? Would this require an additional ticket, maybe an A-ticket? Also, Turtle Talk with Crush and ImageWorks. Would single character greetings throughout the park require an A-ticket? That's interesting. What do you guys think? I mean, I don't know if we talked about Turtle Crush or ImageWorks, which is that area right after
Yeah.
the Journey's to Imagination.
Yeah.
Would you guys add a ticket to that or just include it?
No, I think it's
Yeah.
just included. It's not big enough to be. It's a nice post-show attraction, right? Because then if you think about like the post-show at Mission Space or Test Track, right? You can start charging tickets for that too. And how would you get there? Would you have a separate entrance for them?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So that's fine. Just leave it the way it is.
Next email is from Kirby from Clinton, New Jersey. Where I have a non-Disney World question, but still a Disney one nonetheless. What do you guys think of that Princess and the Frog movie? And what was your favorite song?
I think like most people, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
I saw it on DVD when it came
Did
out.
you really? Was it good?
It was good. It wasn't
looked
great.
interesting.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like, oh god, this is terrible. But I didn't think it was. It certainly wasn't as good as say Up in terms of recent movies that came out from Disney. I don't think it was as good as Toy Story 3. I don't think it was as good as Lilo and Stitch. Scopa, did you see it?
Yeah, I think I saw it either on demand or on Apple TV, I think. And I had a tough time getting into it. I found myself getting up and walking away. And then finally I said, well, let me give it a chance. And I watched it. I think that there were certain elements that were very, very similar to other princess movies, but there was something missing. And I don't know, it just didn't hit me. And I can remember making sure that I took note of the Princess and Frog merchandise in the parks, and it didn't look like it was picked over that much. So I don't think it was that much of a success.
Yeah, from a commercial success, no. I thought it was. I mean, it's worth seeing. I think you got like a slow Saturday afternoon. You're looking for something to check out. I think it's worth seeing. But I'm not going to go out there and say it's in my top 20 Disney movies or anything like that. So, good. Thank you, Kirby. Next email is from Carol, who writes, does Disney still offer the race car experience near the Magic Kingdom parking lot?
You mean
The
Richard
Tom Petty?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yes, Newell and I were there for Reunion, Mike, or TenFest?
It was 10 Fest.
TenFest, yeah. And I got to experience it. Did you do that, Mike, or did you just observe?
No, I was working. I couldn't.
Yeah. I went there. It's still there. It's kind of pricey, but if you there's some specials that come out every now and then. In fact, you should follow them on Twitter. There's a Twitter account for the Richard Petty driving experience. You can check www.com for the link over there. And they, not routinely, but from time to time, they do tweet out specials that are going on. So, you can get a little bit of a help with the price over there. But otherwise, I enjoyed it. Next email is from Steve Labuca of Farmington, Connecticut.
Labuca.
Writes, Matt, your unwillingness to try Lanuba is downright maddening. I'm a semi-Disney freak enough to listen to your podcast religiously, and I have to tell you, Lanuba is still by far the best thing I've ever seen, experienced, ridden at Disney World. Seriously, please consider refraining from commenting on it, insulting it, until you've seen it. It's completely unfair. You keep saying I have no interest, but you really don't know what it's all about until you've seen it. So to say you have no interest sounds absurd. He says, I missed this email by a long time because I'll be down there in May and it'll be seeing Lanuba with my wife and daughter. I will gladly pay for your admission. So I missed out on the boat, but thank you, Steve.
Yes.
You really got to see it, Matt. You really do.
Yeah, I know. It's on my list. I would say more, but Steve has informed me I'm not allowed to say anything else about it.
Well, now you shouldn't now, should you?
Next email is from somebody didn't leave their name. Always leave your name and where you're from in your emails, please. My wife and I love your show and listen to it all the time. First question is, what happened to the buzzard at the top of Everest? You guys remember that? The bird that used to come up there when you get to the top before you go backwards and be like, oh!
More importantly,
you would go up and come down.
More importantly, what happened to the Yeti?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, both things have been broken. I think there's a priority there.
Yeah.
I think for the same reason. I just don't think they've got either no one cares or no one has the resources to care for it right now.
Fix it.
I agree with you. Good point. How do you all tour the parks since you're there so much? Do you all do a day in one park or do you hop around? And do you just do your favorite attraction and then leave when you see everything? You can answer this off the air or any of you. But just curious to hear how you guys tour the parks.
Wow.
What about you, Scopa?
Well, I don't do Commando anymore, unless we happen to be there together and we're all saying, okay, we're going to do 4 parks in one day. I don't do Commando. I basically hit my favorites and I just try to, stop and smell the roses. I think that if I were going down once every year or every 2 years, I'd probably treat it differently, but I'm there 3, maybe 4, 5 times a year. So I just like the experience, and most of the time I'm going down to see friends too. So okay. I think that's a different there. Whereas a lot of people just go down and they're with their family or whatever. I go down, I see a whole bunch of people.
What about you, Newell? You were just down there last week. How did you tour the parks?
Very slowly. It was very hot. We went very slow. I didn't nearly do what I normally do. And that was there was a lot of differences. Then, like I said, the heat was number one. There was a gazillion Brazilians down there at the same time. So it was very difficult to tour with the groups that were there as opposed to, in December when it's not as crowded. But it was between that and the heat, it was very difficult to get around. So
yeah, I go to the studios every week for a photo update, and I don't ride anything. You can ask my wife. That's why she hates it. She says, we go to the park every week. We don't ride anything. But we're just, that's because I'm doing, and I put my fingers up in quotes.
Research.
Research, right. It's, I'm just there for that. But when I'm there to, if someone's in the park to have, like let's say Annette's in the park or Becky Menkind is in the park or any of you guys are in the park, that's different. Then I go and, we ride things. It really, when I first went down to Walt Disney World solo, I met some people who it was then mgmstudios.org, who were locals. So it's like, I'm going to be in the park. Why don't you guys stop by? And we went to the park. I was, of course, Mr. Tourist coming down there, want to check everything out. I was like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And they told me, I was like, whatever you want to do. We don't, I was like, well, no, pick something. What do you guys want to do? And they're like, and as locals, you don't, it's hard to fathom that, it's just, you've done it before, you'll do it again many times. So it's kind of like, it's more interesting to go with other people who aren't like that because it gives you that it kind of brings you back to that mentality almost, that, that old way of touring the park. So it's an interesting way of checking things out. Time for our last email of the day, and that means I'll give Mr. Newell 3 emails to choose from. 1 gets read today. The other 2 go back into the email queue to be answered later. Are you ready, Mike?
Who did it when I was not here last week or last 2 weeks?
I believe that was Scopa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was in good hands then. Woof. Okay.
Your options are please open before Christmas, roll in, and what the doof?
What the doof?
Doof, D-O-O-F.
Let's go with what the doof. Doof.
Good choice. Our last email of the day comes from Katie from Pittsburgh, also known as KDZY on WW Today.
Hoorah.
And Katie writes, even though that I'm an adult, I'm a huge Phineas and Ferb fan. Who can resist a platypus in a hat? Anyway, I've heard rumors of a Kim Possible like Perry and Doofenshmirtz. Is that right? Did I say that right? Where's Mindy when you need her?
I don't even know
have
what
no
you're
idea how to
talking
pronounce
about.
that. Doofenshmirtz? Anyway, experience in California Adventure, which has now led rumors of it being added to Epcot, possibly replacing Kim Possible or being a separate experience. Have you heard anything about this? Also, Len wanted me to remind him that he needs to tell the story about when he bought 20 flights of tequila. I'm sure that much tequila goes down better than syrup. Well, regarding this, I've heard rumors about it. In fact, there was something interesting about it, Katie. If you, I was following on Twitter, the Disney Store's Twitter account, the one like the Disney Store you have in your mall.
The Disney Prez? Disney Prez?
What's that?
Is it Disney Prez? Disney
know what
Store
his name
Prez?
Is that the one?
I think he's the CEO of the Disney Store. He's in charge of the Disney Store
Yeah.
Prez, Prez.
Okay,
On Twitter.
Cool. And he tweeted out some photos of they opened some store in California over there, and they had a meet and greet character of Perry, who's the platypus character on Phineas and Ferb. I was kind of disappointed by it. I saw pictures. I mean, you can probably find pictures online. I was disappointed because he's huge. Like I know like that's kind of like obviously Mickey Mouse is huge also, and so is all the other characters. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better example of why he would be. I don't know. I was not that impressed by the costume. But that being said, a costume exists, which is the first step in having a meet and greet. And certainly, if he does end up in California, I would not be shocked if he ended up certainly in Walt Disney World. And actually, if I was a betting man, I would bet on him being in the studios more than Epcot. And the reason for that is because let's just say a certain other characters in the Playhouse Disney area have not had their shows have been canceled for many years now, and Disney is looking to replace them. So I would not be surprised if I saw something over there.
I hope that's the only place that they put that stuff.
Me too.
Boy, April Baker is going to be sending you a nasty email.
Too bad.
Katie, Len had to leave us early this evening, so does anyone know the story about his 20 flights of tequila? I'm not familiar with that one. Something tells me he did not have 20 flights of tequila and then watch the movie.
Was that during the meet in December? I don't know.
I don't think so, because I don't think he had 20 flights. But
I don't know.
You know what, Katie? If I remember, and I won't, so please send me an email. I will try to remind Len the next time.
And 2 years from now, we'll answer it.
Exactly. 3 years. Sooner or later, we'll get it. If you come to a reunion, you'll definitely get an answer to that, Katie. There you go. Very good. Well, that's going to do it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our... You don't want to read our emails. You want to read our show notes or send us your questions. You can visit the WW Today website at www.today.com. And you know what? I mentioned reunion. And hey, we're holding the WW Today reunion once again this year, 2010. And you could be a part of reunion. And guess what? If you are interested in going to reunion, why not book reunion with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel? There's a really great reason for it. I mean, yeah, you could support the podcast. You could support a great sponsor. Those are all very good reasons, right?
Yeah.
But how about this? If you book with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel reunion, you're going to get free admission for 2 guests to the MEI and Mouse Fan Travel Client Appreciation Signature event.
What?
And 24-hour head start on any reunion event tickets that go on sale. So never mind you're going to get a great price on the rooms. Never mind you're going to be helping to support some good friends of our show. You're going to be getting some cool stuff out of it, too. And I'm all for cool stuff. So check them out at www.mousefantravel.com. And that'll do it for us today. For Lentesta, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.